Hello there, everyone, and welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of Chapter 3 of Rollie Vita. Chapter 3 was called You're a Wizard, Rollie. When we left off, Rollie was just about to go into Ollivander's to get his wand, so this will be Ollivander up first. Hello there. Are you Mr. Potter? I wondered when I'd be seeing you. Rollie interrupted the man. "No, my name is Rollie. I'm Muggleborn," he calmly explained to the poor soul. My mistake, sir. How about we get you a wand?" The shop owner zipped around, pulling out wands for the young boy to try, the boy who candidly looked like James Potter but had Lily's green eyes. "Give it a wave, young sir." His grey eyes looked starkly at the boy. Rollie did just that, one by one, went through the duds. They were to him anyway. "I wonder." Mr. Ollivander pulled out a specific box, opened it up, and handed the wand to Rollie. As soon as he touched it, it glowed and gave him a warm feeling. "Curious." Rollie looked up from his wand to the storekeeper and asked what was so curious. "The phoenix who gave this feather for your wand gave another feather. Just one. It's curious it should go to you, the boy who looks so much like Harry Potter, but isn't. Very curious. But we can be sure you'll do great things, because the man who owned that wand did great things. Terrible, but great." Who was that man? Rollie had to know. "We do not speak his name, but he killed Harry's parents, and tried to kill him too, out of fear of losing his great war, some 10 years ago. This is the year Harry should start school as well, but no one has seen him for some time, since he was a baby, really. So, you understand why I thought you were him. You look remarkably like his father, but with his mother's eyes. You'd be twins, I'd wager, but your name is marked here as Rollie." "Thank you for telling me, sir. I'll keep that in mind, and try to hope other people don't think I'm him." Rollie had a remarkably easy time saying he wasn't Harry, since he didn't believe he was. They looked around the shop some and got a wand holster for his arm and leg that was enchanted to keep his wand from being stolen. He got a couple for Hermione, too, in case she didn't think of it. If so, he'd make other friends he was sure to give them to. Never can be too prepared. They left after paying, and his mums hugged him. "I'm sorry, love, that you had to hear about your parents that way. How they died? Murdered?" "Yes, so sorry, honey," his mum added. Rollie nodded. "It's okay. I would like to know more about it, the truth, really. If they were both killed, and I was the only person there, how does anyone know what happened? A bit of detective work, I guess. You are my parents, and you are still here. I want to make sure no one can try to murder you like that. That is priority one. What they said at Gringotts really makes sense now." The mums nodded. The green-eyed boy released some of his hair and let it fall further over his scar. Rollie looked over his letter. He'd need robes for his uniform and gloves, potion equipment, and whatever else he thought would make life easy at Hogwarts. They decided to get the robes first. They entered Madame Malkin's shop and was taken to the back by her, where she was already working on a young blonde first year with an upturned nose. She pointed to the stool next to him, and Rollie went directly on top of it and stood still. "Hello," the pale boy said. "Hogwarts too?" "Yes." Rollie kept it simple. The platinum blonde could feel the power of this boy, and he seemed to be stoic and impressive. "My father's next door, buying my books, and my mother's up the street looking at wands," he said while sounding bored. "I'm definitely going to drag them to the racing brooms. I'm not sure why first years can't have them. I'll smuggle one in somehow." Rollie could tell this kid was a complete snob, but wouldn't let him get under his skin. "I'm sure you'll figure out a way if that's what you would really like. By the way, let me introduce myself. I'm Rollie Vita. My mums are sitting in the waiting room." You have two mothers? Draco gasped. Rollie just nodded and smiled. Oh yes. Excuse me. I'm Malfoy. Draco Malfoy. He came down off his stool and shook Rollie's hand. Nice to meet you. May I call you Draco? If we'll be at Hogwarts together, we might as well be friends. Your mums are our kind, right? Draco inquired before committing. They are non-magical, if that's what you mean. If you define who you are friends with by their family, you mustn't have many friends. All that matters is how we treat each other. I happen to be an excellent friend. If you can't get past my upbringing or who my parents are, I understand. Rollie stood still and let the boy think while he was being finished up. He got 2 weeks' worth of robes of the best quality. He was rich, and it wasn't even a drip in his funds. He wouldn't spend excessively, but he wanted the best. My father says, the blonde started. What do you say, Draco? Rollie interrupted him. Draco was taken aback. He could tell this was a very powerful kid already, and he never really had an authentic friend who cared what he thought. I'll give it a try, Rollie. Friends? He held out his hand, and Rollie took it and smiled. I've got to go complete my shopping and meet up with Hermione. I'll see you on the train, Draco, and we can write, if you like, until school. I'll send via my Gringotts box. Draco nodded and smirked, in a smile almost. Since it seemed pets were a thing, and since Rollie would be away from his home, his mums didn't want him to be alone. They stopped at the magical menagerie. It seemed Rollie had an affinity with snakes. They seemed to understand the words he said, but they didn't get one. It wasn't on the school list of allowed pets. The Vita stopped by the Owl Emporium and found a beautiful white spotted owl that bonded almost at once with the obsidian-haired young boy. I'll think of a name for you later, girl. You're absolutely lovely. The owl hooted at his compliment. They stopped at the trunk shop before they started to get too deep into supplies. He found a feather-light multi-compartment trunk that could hold a library worth of books and even had a small apartment. Better prepared than not in Rollie's book, and he had money to spare, so it wouldn't be a problem. Mums, I was thinking of getting another wand. I overheard in the trunk shop at Nocturne Alley they make custom wands. I would like a spare just in case something happens. I did get 2 wand holsters, best to fill them. You always think so far ahead, dear. That is a very good trait to have. Of course we can go look, before we meet back with Hermione at the bookshop. Amber replied. Thanks, Mama. We can stop at the potion shops for those supplies, an extra, in case a new friend forgets also. And then run down there. I heard it's just down the side alley. They all nodded in agreement. The potion shop went very quickly. He just got his lists and some books from the shop about ingredients and tips, and 4 sets of all the supplies and ingredients. Do you recommend anything extra? Rollie asked the shopkeeper. He pointed out some rarer ingredients and a book on keeping the items fresher longer. Since Rollie had his trunk that was the same weight no matter what, he took the man up on the offer and stocked up on the books and supplies suggested. They easily found the wooden hand arrow that pointed to Nocturne Alley. Wow, love. It is dark down here. Is it safe for us to be here? Allison was feeling uneasy. I mean, we have money, like everyone else, right? So they should want us to use it. They don't know who we are, so I think they won't bother us just because of that, Rollie reasoned. The group quickly found a wand shop and went inside. A bell rang as they walked through the door. Not lost, are you, my dears? The slimy saleswoman asked. Not at all. I'd like to procure a second one, please. The lady was no nonsense and pulled out several ingredients and began to explain how it was to work. These are the wand-core choices I have: Thestral tail feather, hippogriff feather, and dragon blood. Hover your hand over each and tell me which feels best. We'll do the same with the woods and a few other special items. I can put together a wand for you with that. Rollie followed her directions and quickly put together cypress, dragon blood, and a length of about 13 inches. Excellent, sir. These means you are unafraid to face the shadows of yourself and others, have great power, and these can easily be tamed toward the dark arts. Watch out. as these are a bit more prone to accident, but not to worry if you have a stronger will than the wand. It'll take a week to put together your wand, I can owe it to you. Send it to Gringotts under the account of Rollie Vita. They will ensure it gets to me timely. What do I owe you? The family paid and hoofed it back to the regular alley where the light shone through. They figured Hermione had spent most of the time at the bookstore, so when they arrived they weren't surprised to see her in the stack still. When she saw Rollie, she ran up to him right away. Rollie, my vault is so big, and there's plenty of money for school, and most importantly books. What did you learn? She looked at him expectantly. Merlin. So our ancestors were friends. I have a few others also. Have you gotten your wand? You should get an extra. I learned that a custom one is better matched. Also, my trunk has an apartment section with a training room that can hide magic use for the ministry while we're at home. We can practice some this last month before school. Hermione's eyes were wide, and she smiled just so. That's amazing, Rollie. I'd like to do that for sure. I haven't gone to the wand shop yet. Are you just getting to the bookshop? I've been here a good while, and it's amazing. I think I want to get a good amount of books to learn about the magical world. You? That is definitely a promising idea. I got a holster for your arm and leg. When you go, don't worry about those. Have you gotten your trunk? You should think about getting one with a library compartment, so you have plenty of room to add over the years, and it doesn't get any heavier. I do plan on covering a wide range of subjects than what our required list is. We should consult about that. Did they get you a Gringotts box for mail? Also, we can call each other over the phone while we're at home. By the way, I met a snobby boy named Draco. We agreed to be friends, so just want to forewarn, he might say some mean things about us, because our parents aren't wizards, but I think he was genuine, and we can bring him around to be more open-minded. Rollie, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Yes, I did get a box and portkeys and warts for our home, so it'll be perfect. We can practice often and call like you said. Let me know which books you are getting so I can as well. Hermione's eyes were bright with anticipation. It's no problem, Hermione. I was getting them and figured I wanted us to have everything equal. While I planned on goblin customs and wizarding etiquette, and all the species we'll have to deal with, really. Magical history, Hogwarts history. I'm related to a founder too of Hogwarts, so that'll be interesting to see my heritage. Magical politics and customs and laws, all 7 years of books and supplemental reading in regards to those subjects. I mean, we'll be here year by year, but why not get it all now? Anything else you can think of? Well, I was reading this section of books over here, and this occlumency one sounds interesting, to help with easier recall and organizing the mind. Help us also protect our mind from legilimency, mind-reading attacks. Besides that, I agree with you. Plus, I'm on Harry Potter. He's famous here. I should tell you something, Hermione, before we get to school. I don't want you to think I'm trying to hide anything. I'm Harry Potter. I mean, that was my name before I was adopted. Hermione just gaped and stared for a minute and nodded, trying not to blush. I don't really want to tell anyone else. My letter came to Rollie Vita, and I want to keep it like that. I don't want to be treated differently if I can help it. I also plan on seeing if there's any books to disguise my scar. We can work on it in the apartment before the train. Your secret is safe with me, Rollie. Hermione was resolute. This was her first friend. They were like Arthur and Merlin, and she wouldn't break the bond for anyone or anything. He nodded and smiled. I'm sure it is. Thanks for understanding. I'm just a normal muggle-born, really, just like you, and so we'll prepare before we get there the rest of the summer and be prepared for anything this new world can throw at us. Let's finish this shopping. Hermione smiled and nodded, taking one look back at the retreating boy, then went back to her parents, pointing out the books the two had decided to get, and talked about the trunk they needed and all about her latest information on Rollie. McGonagall saw the exchange but didn't really hear all that was going on, but could tell the two would be lifetime friends. Their ancestry demanded it, even if they didn't want to, but she could tell that they really did. The two finished their shopping and departed back to their respective homes. Rollie was smiling ear to ear with all the new things he had to learn, and he set about a conservative schedule to cover the core subjects of the year the most. but branch out to those things that went along with that. His mama came into his room as he was sorting books in a level of importance of urgency, and smiled at this. He was so much like his mum, Allison. "Hey, Rollie." "Hi, Mama. How are you?" "I'm doing better, love, now that we are getting a little more used to you going away. I heard you and Hermione talking, and I'm glad you got someone you know from the side to go with you." "I'm glad also. It just makes it less scary to share a new experience. Of course, I wish it was you and Mum, but we can't always get what we want, can we?" "That's right, but we can try sometimes." They snicker. They always related to songs. "Mama, I'm not sure if you can use electronics over there. From what I've been reading, they won't really work. How will I listen to music?" "I guess you'll have to sing, maybe. You can take your acoustic guitar, since your keyboard is electronic, and your drums are much too big." "That is one clever idea, thanks, Mama. I could put the drums in my trunk compartment. I'll miss you so much, and Mum. But I told you, I'll make sure to figure out something. I have lots to figure out really soon. Communication with you. I have the goblin box. That's much faster than owling something. No offense, Hadwick. I'll figure out like a phone type thing where I can actually see you. Sci-fi stuff like video or hologram talking would be cool. With magic, I'm sure anything's possible. And making electronics work around magic, or finding a way to do magical version. If I put my mind to it, I can accomplish it all, right, Mum?" Rollie saw his mum standing at the door, listening in. "Absolutely, my love, and don't worry about us. We've been warded, as they call it, and have these portkey devices to get us out of here if there is any trouble. Just worry about your studies, having fun, and new experiences. I'm sure you'll do great. Don't spend the whole of your summer with these books." "Oh, I won't. I still have track practice, martial arts, and language class. How smart was Latin? Good job, Mums." "They'll be sad to see me go at school in martial arts. I'll make sure to keep up with all my physical stuff and have lots and lots of fun." His mum smiled and nodded as they exited and let him get back to what he was doing. The last month flew by, and Hermione and he were keeping up diligently with Draco, asking him questions about the wizarding world and what spells they could try. They'd practiced all the spell movements together and visited in person often to go down into the trunk compartment to practice. They learned that kids who grew up around magic could practice at home because it was expected in those homes. It was unfair, and they didn't feel guilty finding a loophole for them. They'd be the best at Hogwarts. They even got Draco to start running, since they learned it helped with magical stamina in one of the supplemental books they got. They read all the core books and reread some of their favorite history books and the political and etiquette books that required a bit more memorization. Rollie informed Draco and Hermione about the extra training he commissioned, and they all agreed to do it together. The Grangers and Vitas connected more since both their kids were leaving, and could be support for one another when the children went off to school. It was easy to build their extended family together, and they could tell their lives were forever intertwined anyway. September 1st came fast. The group arrived early to the train station and went through the wall between platform 9 and 10, like the professor had informed them. And that's the end of chapter 3, finally. I can't believe it's almost 20 more minutes. It's a very long chapter. The Diagon Alley chapter is very long anyway, so... But it's so fun to read. So I look forward to getting back with you next week on the next chapter finally. When we finally get going to Hogwarts. Thank you anybody who's listening,